Good evening, everybody. My name is Jody. My husband David John and I have a small farm in the panhandle of North Idaho. These are our stories and adventures. So welcome to Moose Flats Farm. And we are extremely lucky in the fact that my mom and dad have a big enough piece of property that they are able to grow pigs and cows. So last week they did process the 2 pigs that they have, and we were very fortunate enough for our Christmas present. They gifted us half a pig. So we went up and got the pig wrapped and ready to go, and wound up with 18 pounds of ground pork that we are going to be today turning into, or starting today, turning into sausage. And the recipe that I'm going to be using is from the Prairie Homestead cookbook by Jill Winger. And I have slightly modified it a little bit. David John really likes this. I do add from her original recipe, I add pepper flakes and ground jalapeno. It's not spicy, but it just gives enough heat that it just takes it up a step. So we're going to go through the ingredients, get the sausage or the ground pork divided into 2 pans, and it has gone through and been ground with a big die and then a medium-sized die. And so we're going to add the spices to it tonight. I like to, when I'm doing like my jerky or my sausages, I like to incorporate the dry ingredients into the meat, let it sit in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours, and then I do re-grind it and kind of mix the 2 pails together. I think it just gives a little better consistency, then that way I know everything is all mixed in together. So let's adjust the camera a little bit and I'll show you what all goes into making this sausage. Okay, so the original recipe is for 3 pounds of pork, and like I said, we have 18, so each tub is going to do 9 pounds of pork. So we've got the pork. It says 1 small minced onion per 3 pounds. I forgot to get onions at the store, and I'm not a huge onion fan, so I did take some minced onion, and according to the internet it's a tablespoon of dried minced onions to equal 1 small onion. I have for the most part reconstituted these, so I'll put about a half a cup of this per tub. 1/4 cup maple syrup, and I did get some relatively good maple syrup as opposed to using just plain pancake maple syrup that in a pinch would work. And it calls for sea salt, and of course this says fine sea salt and I accidentally grabbed coarse, but since we are going to be regrinding it, it shouldn't be an issue. And it calls for sage leaves. I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find any dried sage leaves. So I'm going to be doing a rubbed sage leaves, so it's just kind of powdered up. Probably won't put in as much as the recipe just because this is powdered as opposed to regular sage leaves. It's got ground mustard, garlic powder, and I know it calls for freshly ground pepper, but this is freshly bought ground pepper, so this is what I'm going to use. And then the addition that I have added to it that makes it the little bit of spicier is I'm going to be adding crushed red pepper flakes and ground jalapeno. Yep, that gets all the ingredients. So let's get this pork divided in half and get the ingredients put in it. Okay, I'm going to be wearing these black nitrile gloves. They are food grade for two purposes. One, because this pork is really cold, it does offer a little bit of insulation to my fingers, and two, I can easily pull them off to do the ingredients so I'm not taking contaminated fingers and contaminating all of these herbs that I have. So let's get this divided. I am just going to do a rough division because I have a scale that I can make it more accurate, and like I said, because I'm going to be doing the second grind on it and taking from both containers, it should all even out. That is going to be about half. And one of the nice things about grinding your own or making your own sausage is, A, you can control the ingredients that are going into it, and B, you can control how lean or fat your sausage is. This sausage is, for the most part, a pretty lean sausage because we really like the sausage, and it's not the best with David John's health, so we do a lean grind on it. And it's one of those, if you wanted to do this yourself at home, you could go to the butcher, buy a roast, and they will, if you give them some time, they will bone it out and grind it for you if you don't have a grinder at home. And the second grind is, it'll be the third grind after the ingredients, isn't really necessary. It's not called for in the recipe, but like I said, I've just found that it just gives a little more of a consistent flavor throughout the whole sausage patty. Okay, let's grab the scale and see how close we are at the 50-50 mark. And I have, before I filled the tubs, I did zero my scale. That's why it's shown over here at the 10, because I zeroed it out for the weight of the totes. That is pretty darn close. See how it's showing just a little bit over 9 pounds? Let's see what the other one's at. And that one is just a tiny bit under. I think that's close enough to 50-50, so I'm going to pull my gloves off and we'll add the spices. And like I said, this recipe calls for 3 pounds, so each tote is going to be 9 pounds. So I'm going to be doing the recipe times 3, or I should say 3 as opposed to holding up 2 fingers. So go through and get these guys filled up, or I should say spiced up. Okay, so first we're gonna start with the small onion. So like I said, this is just the dehydrated, and I figure it's about a half a cup per tub. Okay, and then it is 1/4 cup of maple syrup, so that's going to be, for each of these, it's going to be 3/4 of a cup. And then it's 1 teaspoon, so 1 tablespoon, so 3 tablespoons of the sea salt. Okay, two teaspoons of the dried sage leaves. Like I said, I'm going to cut this back a little bit just because this is rubbed, so it's kind of shredded as opposed to the leaves itself. So I'm just not even really filling the teaspoon itself, so it's more 2, 4, 6, 6. Don't put that in the sink yet, you're not done using it. So the next ingredient is 2 teaspoons of ground mustard. Okay, I'm gonna have to grab another one of those for the other one. Garlic powder is 2 teaspoons. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, little tiny bit left in there will be used on something else. And then the black pepper. And I could have done the math and that would have made this faster. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But so the black pepper is 3/4 of a teaspoon. And now this is where we deviate from the recipe. We're going to be adding a tablespoon of red pepper flakes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 6 teaspoons of the ground jalapeno. No, because why did I scribble that out? So no, it's 3 teaspoons per 3 pounds. So it'll be a total of 9. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I need to get more ground mustard and jalapeno for this other one, so be right back with you. Okay, so I added the rest of the ground mustard to this one. I am out of the ground jalapeno, and it'll be fine. The best place I've found to find that is in the Hispanic food section at your grocery store. Actually, you can find a bunch of different spices there in big containers for the same price as a little container. So just another, because it's like this garlic here was found in the Hispanic section, and this one was found in the regular herb section. Completely spaced that I can get my garlic over there for $2 less. Same size container. So gotta remember, that is a good area to get some of your spices for this kind of cooking, a little more inexpensive. So the next step will be put the gloves back on and go through and get all of this thoroughly mixed together. So I'm going to put the GoPro back on time lapse and we'll get this all mixed together and it will go into the fridge. So back in a minute after this has been all mixed. Okay, so I got my 2 tubs ready to go back into the fridge, so we'll see you guys tomorrow morning to get these ground and packaged up for breakfast later on. Okay, so it's the next morning. Gonna go through and regrind this pork, the seasoned pork, and get it into the freezer bags, and it'll be good for breakfast. Okay, so the grinder I picked up for grinding my meat is an Ambrose grinder. It is kind of on the loud side, so I will be doing this in time lapse so you don't have to listen to the hum of it. But like I said, I'm going to do a handful from one tray and then a handful from the other tray. So I'm going to get this stuff ground up. Okay, so I got my 18 pounds of sausage ground, and I did at the end throw a couple ice cubes in. It does help push the remaining meat out through the grinder. So we're going to kind of level this off, get it divided into 18 sections. And I have gone through, because we are going to be using food saver bags, and I have a tendency either to make them too small, or in this example probably too big, but I'd rather have it too big than not big enough and not get a good seal. So I'm going to re-glove up and get this patted down and divided into 18. So there's the sausage in the food saver bags. And I obviously don't know how to count when I'm dividing it, because I divided it into 16 instead of 18. So they are a little over a pound, but that'll be fine. So now I'm going to go through and wipe the edges and see what I mean by a little on the big side. But wipe the edges so it's nice and clean, and we'll run them through the food saver to get them vacuum sealed. So I did, as you saw in the time lapse, go through and flatten all the sausage bags. It serves two purposes. One, this will freeze a lot faster than this big chunk. And two, this one will thaw a lot faster than a big chunk. And probably take up just about the same amount of space, but visually a flat one you can kind of stick in nooks and crannies in the freezer, so looks like it's taking up less space. So this is where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you have a good day and a good week, and until the next adventure, bye for now. Oh yeah, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.